So just last week, we saw one of the most important clashes of the year. Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev. The fight itself was amazing and lived up to the hype, which is why I needed to make a video on this. In this video, I'll be going over the pre-fight interactions, the fight itself, and the post-fight controversy. Now, the boxing community has been waiting for this fight for years. Both of these guys have been dominating the light heavyweight division for the past few years, and neither man seemed to have met their match until now. As Beterbiev was getting older, I thought he would retire before we ever saw this fight happen. It's taken this long mostly due to boxing politics. Both parties involved wanted to make as much money as possible, and there's also a lot of risk for both of them as Bivol and Beterbiev came into this fight undefeated. They may have gone without ever crossing paths if it weren't for the Saudis wanting to use this opportunity to host one of the biggest boxing events of the year. There isn't really much to say about the pre-fight because both of these guys aren't the types of fighters to trash talk. There's also no need for any action before the fight because everything is already being paid for by the Saudis. The press conferences seemed very calm with nobody crashing out, but the atmosphere was still very tense because everyone knows what these guys can do inside the ring. Moving on to the fight itself, I don't think anybody predicted it to be this good. Most people had Bivol either dominating Beterbiev for 12 rounds or Beterbiev absolutely blasting Bivol out the ring, but instead what we got was a high-speed chess match between two equals. The fight started out with Bivol landing some good shots with his lead hand. He would force Beterbiev to go on the defensive with just his jab. Going into the second round, Bivol kept up this high work rate with his jab, firing it off almost like a machine gun. Beterbiev didn't have anything to answer for this. Once the third round started, Beterbiev would come out fast and start applying pressure, but Bivol was able to win the round with quick, sharp counters. In the fourth round, Beterbiev was starting to pressure Bivol and walk him down. Beterbiev would keep this success up coming into the fifth round by pressuring Bivol and forcing Bivol to shell up and defend. In the sixth round, there wasn't much activity, but Bivol was able to steal the round right at the end with a series of good flurries. At the start of the seventh round, it seemed like Bivol had gotten a second wind because he came out fast with great flurries and good counter-punching throughout the round. Beterbiev did manage to finish strong towards the end of the round with a few good combinations, but it was still a Bivol round. Eighth round followed a similar pattern of Bivol managing to land strong flurries before fading towards the end of the round. Coming into the ninth round, Bivol had one of his best rounds of the fight. He was firing quick combinations before moving and offsetting Beterbiev. Beterbiev started coming on towards the end, but nothing managed to penetrate Bivol's high guard. In the 10th round, Beterbiev started to swarm Bivol with combinations and force Bivol to cover up. The 11th round followed a similar pattern with Bivol shelling up and occasionally firing back. It's clear that at this point, Bivol's corner and the rest of the world thought he had won enough of the early rounds to comfortably take a decision, so there isn't any reason for him to take any unnecessary risks. In the 12th round, Bivol was covering up with Beterbiev coming on to try and do some serious damage. Credit to Bivol because his high guard was tight and nothing seemed to get through. Now looking back on the fight, I had Bivol up by one round and at most would have scored the fight a draw. I can see it being scored as a close fight because Beterbiev won the championship rounds, which are seen as the most important rounds, but what we got was a robbery. One judge scored the fight a draw at 114-114. Another gave Beterbiev the win with a fair scoring of 115-113, but the last judge scored this fight a 116-112. There's no world where this fight is scored as 116-112. This judge gave Bivol 4 rounds out of the 12. There's been a lot of talk about this judge having been paid off because the only way someone can score a fight like this is if they weren't watching. Nobody agrees with this decision, and I haven't seen a single person say that Beterbiev won this fight. It's unfortunate that this event was damaged by such a ridiculous scorecard because both of these fighters are top tier warriors. I don't think I've seen such a humble post-fight interview in my life. Bivol was congratulating Artur for becoming undisputed and didn't embarrass himself with a post-fight crash out like some fighters have been doing recently. Artur was saying in his post-fight interview that it was one of his toughest fights because Bivol is a strong world champion. It goes without saying that these two need to rematch immediately. They've beaten everyone else in the weight class, and I think they're the only two that have the ability to beat each other. I'd like to see what adjustments both fighters make now that they have this data from sharing the ring for 12 rounds. Let me know what you guys think of the scorecard behind this fight. Who do you guys think won, and comment below what fights you guys are looking forward to.